Budgeting may seem restricting, but it's actually very freeing. As someone who spends a lot, it feels like it gives me permission to spend. It allows me to spend money without questioning my choices or feeling guilty about any purchase I make. So instead of going into tax season wondering where all the money you made went, I'll show you how you can communicate with your money to know exactly where it's going by giving you the best 15 practical budgeting tips. Set goals. It doesn't matter where you are in life, whether you're just starting on your budgeting journey or you're well into budgeting. Having goals will help you consistently get exactly where you want to go. For example, if you want to save $10,000 for a down payment, you can clearly orient your budget to make that happen. Something I like to do is have multi-time frame goals. For instance, I have goals for the month, goals for the year, and long-term goals that span anywhere from 5 to 30 years. Use cash for categories you overspend on. Everyone has their weak points, but what matters is knowing how to deal with them. The easiest way for me to deal with these categories I overspend on is to use a cash-only system. It's like the envelope system, but only for a specific section of your budget. Using cash keeps you credible in the sense that you can't spend more than you've allowed, nipping overspending in the bud. Once it's gone, and you can stay on track. Create a miscellaneous category. There are going to be months where you're going to have expenses that normally don't occur. For example, just the other month our coffee maker broke, so we had to buy a new one. A quick tip is to always have a little bit of spare money for those emergencies, or if you have a fully funded emergency account, to dip into that. If you see expenses consistently pop up in the miscellaneous category for a few months, then it's best to make a new category for that expense. Budget together. If you're married, common law, or have a partner of any sort, then you should budget together. It's becoming more commonplace for couples to run their finances separately despite living together. However, being open with finances by creating a budget together keeps the communication lines open. This doesn't only help you manage your money the best, it helps you work towards collective and individual goals. And it helps your relationships be more solid by learning more about each other. Bonus tip: if you're single, then find a good friend you feel comfortable enough to share your finances with. It's always easier to budget when doing it with someone else. Don't be too hard on yourself. You're going to make mistakes throughout your budgeting journey, and you're going to struggle sometimes. It's part of life. But what counts the most is that you don't give up. It took me about 3 months worth of failures and changes before I finally found a rhythm and groove for budgeting. However, once I got past that hurdle, budgeting became really fun. Budget every month. No 2 months are going to be exactly the same on your budget, which is all the more reason you should be making a budget every single month. To prepare for any potential changes, get your calendar out and check what's upcoming. Are there any birthdays coming up? What about the season? Do you need to get candy for Halloween? Or is the new school season coming up so you have to get supplies and clothes for your kids? Cut your credit cards. You all know that credit cards equal debt, and debt isn't good. It's just simpler and easier to use a debit card where you know that any purchase you make won't have any lingering interest payments, but it's money that's actually yours. Even if you do use credit cards, it's always recommended to only use it if you can pay it back with cash immediately. So just skip the step. There was a time when credit cards were useful for online shopping, but now most places take some form of debit transaction, like PayPal. And if not, you can always buy gift cards to avoid the hassle. Create a budget to zero. A budget to zero is a perfectly balanced budget. In other words, it's when your expenses and your income subtracted will equal zero. What this means is that every single dollar you earn is being employed and given a purpose, which is maximum efficiency. The way to do this is to look at your next month and figure out how much you're going to earn. Once you do that, list all your expenses, including savings, debts, utilities, and bills. Once you've got that done, then start working around with the budget until you can finally get your income minus expenses equal to zero. Once you've done this, then you know that you're making the most of your money. This is a pretty tough feat to accomplish, so make sure you set aside ample time to work a budget and really take your time figuring out the best way to do it. Don't worry if you go over or under. Just keep practicing. Make a schedule. It's really important to know when your bills are due, when you're getting paid, and any automatic saving dates you have. This will allow you to gear your budget around these dates to make the best possible choices with your money. Since there are some payments that are fixed, these should be used as guide points for your spending to help keep you on track. Now, one of the things that can be tough with budgeting is if you have inconsistent income. You can't really schedule dates because you don't know how much you're going to make, or sometimes when you'll be paid. But if this video gets 300 likes, we'll make a video on how to budget if you have an inconsistent income. Quit comparing. It almost feels like human nature to compare ourselves to others. Unfortunately, this isn't usually done in a constructive way. For example, when you see that person on TikTok with a huge house and a Tesla, it won't make you want to save more, but go out and spend so you can be like them. You probably can tell where that'll lead you and your finances. So, to counteract this, do your best to put the blinders on and focus only on yourself. You're unique, and your lifestyle is also unique. The more you work towards the goals that are natural to you, the more likely you'll find yourself succeeding and accomplishing those goals. Pay off debt. Paying off debt is arguably the most important expense to cut after the payments that are vital for life. When you're working on your budget and looking at all of the categories outside of the major ones, any expense that can be cut off should immediately go to paying down debt. This will ensure that you're making your money work in the best way possible and allowing you to feel like you have more money without actually making more. Those who've cleared themselves of debt know this very well. Don't be scared to make budget cuts. While we're on the topic of cutting expenses, don't be afraid to make any changes to your budget from month to month. For example, you might realize you can cut a few personal purchase expenses this month. And you should. Remember, these changes can and should be temporary depending on the situation. Since every month is going to be different, you should always take advantage of those moments you can make extra cuts, since there will be moments where you won't be able to do that. Start with the most important categories first. Contrary to common sense, giving is actually one of the most important categories despite your financial position. It's one of the signifying traits of the wealthiest. So, every single month, cut out a little bit of space to give. This can be something like getting a bouquet of flowers for a loved one, a nice dinner, or just helping someone in need. What this does is it fosters a detachment from money, which can help you stress less. It makes healthier relationships and makes you feel good about yourself. Unfortunately, a common occurrence among people who start saving is they become overly possessive of money and forget why they're saving in the first place, and instead just try to save everywhere they can without purpose. The second most important category is savings. As you've heard before, paying yourself first should be a top priority. Thirdly, you want to cover your four walls or your food, utilities, shelter, and transportation, essentially the things needed to survive. Lastly, prioritize anything that doesn't fall into the previous categories, like subscriptions and personal purchases. Track your progress. Always have goals and always keep track of them. For example, if you want to save $100 this month, keep track and journal if you've managed to complete your goal or not. These small goals can help you stay motivated and inspire you to keep moving forward to accomplish bigger goals. Before I share this last tip with you, let us know in the comments below if we missed any of your favorite practical budgeting tips. Use an online budgeting tool. Let's face it, budgeting by hand is a huge pain. Fortunately, there are a couple of fantastic free resources that can help you budget, so you can cut back on the work. The two major ones that can get you started are EveryDollar and Mint. Go check them out and start budgeting today.